Chapter 17. The questions came. What in the world? Are you girls all right? Watch where you're stepping, folks. Somebody had found the lantern and turned it on. Flashlights played around the greenhouse, making spotlights in the lantern glow. Ruby's mother crouched in front of the girls and looked them over carefully. We're all scratched up. Dev's voice choked in her throat. Ruby, honey. Her mother placed her hand on Ruby's back. Miss Maddie stood in the doorway. They're scared half to death, Evelyn, but they're fine. Ruby's mother frowned. I don't know. Ruby was doubled over with her head on her knees, her fist clenching the note. She was breathing hard. Dove began to cry. Now Miss Maddie was examining the damage. Most of them panes or safety glass. It could have been worse. They're lucky. Lucky? Ruby lifted her head. A dust streak swam down her cheek. Look at Ivy. Look at the chicks. I know who did this. It's Melba Jane, and she killed Ivy's chicks. Ruby's anger pulled her together. She shuddered all over and pointed to the eggs on the ground. Her mother stooped under the counter and looked. The chicks still did not move. Miss Maddie put a hand lightly over her mouth, then fished in her pocket and pulled out a handkerchief. She handed it to Ruby's mother. I can't imagine she meant to do this, but you're right, she probably did. I saw her running away from here like a scared jackrabbit. I know she did it. Here's her note. It's her. Ruby brandished the crumpled note and waved it in front of Miss Maddie, but she wouldn't give it up. Where's the third egg, sweetie? Ruby's mother dabbed at a dribble of blood that made its way down the back of Ruby's hand. She looked like she might cry herself. Dove sniffed. Ivy's sitting on it. It's still peeping. Miss Maddie left the doorway. Ruby heard her talking to Mr. Harvey Pompum outside. Go over to the Lathams and get Lila and Melba Jane. Don't you bring her here. Ruby leaped to her feet. Don't you bring her anywhere near my chickens. Beanie is missing too, and I don't know where she went. Melba left the gate open. Ruby wiped her hair from her face and left a streak of blood on her cheek. You're bleeding, honey. Her mother stood and held Ruby's face in her hands. She looked intently into Ruby's eyes. First thing first, let's take care of these cuts and scrapes. You too, Dove. Come on into the house where we can see. I'm not leaving my chickens. Ruby wiped her nose on her shirt sleeve. Miss Maddie used her in-charge voice. Ruby, you come with me now. You too, Dove. We're going to clean you up. Evelyn, you can manage here. Yes, ma'am. Ruby's mother sounded relieved. I won't go. Ruby stared at her mother. Miss Maddie held out her hand. I'll bring you back directly. You won't be any good to these chickens if you get tetanus. Now let's get cleaned up and make sure you aren't carrying glass in those cuts. Ruby's mother nodded. I'm going to take care of this glass with Mr. Harvey. When you come back, we'll be able to think more clearly, okay? Ruby's face, Miss Maddie. You're not bringing Melba Jean here, right? Here, are you? No, I won't do that. We've got other things to attend to right now. Ruby smelled the dirt of the chicken yard and the straw from Ivy's nest. Ivy clucked from her perch on top of the last egg. I'll be right back, Ivy girl. You are such a brave chicken. She turned to her mother. Look at how she tried to protect her chicks. Her voice choked again and tears were fresh in her eyes. Her mother's eyes filled with tears too. She hugged Ruby. You've done what you could do, honey. She put an arm around the sniffling Dove. I'm going to call your aunt and uncle and tell them what happened. I'll tell them you're okay, all right? Dove nodded. She sniffed again and wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Then she followed Ruby out of the greenhouse. She walked onto the porch of the Pink Palace with Ruby and Miss Maddie. The three of them disappeared into the house.